Yeah. Got it.
We were all over the place last week. Yeah. In fact,
Leonard, did you bring your guitar to the show?
No, I didn't. The place of rhythm. Just bob your head for a little and I'll dub it.
we'll just pretend. We'll just pretend.
Yeah. Just pretend.
Awesome.
Okay, yeah, that was killer, dude.
All right, so we're recording. Maybe, Leonard, you kick us off by get the intro and tell us where you are and everything.
Are we recording?
We're recording now.
Oh, okay. Hey, guys, what's up? I'm in Boston here for PTC's Liveworx 2023. And yeah, it's happening. And, you know, they haven't had a live event. They haven't had this event in 4 years. So this is the first time in 4 years, and it's pretty packed.
Yeah.
Pretty packed. Yeah, you can't tell right now because everyone's inside, but, you know, maybe I'll walk around as we're chatting. But how are you guys doing?
Good. Are you seeing a lot of my old friends from Rockwell there?
Yes. You know, there's a lot of talk about Rockwell at this event, but hey, before we kick things off, I wanna thank all our listeners, the 1 or 2 or 3 people who listen. You know, thanks. This is our 3rd year anniversary. Can you believe that? We've been doing this for 3 years, so this is the 3rd year anniversary of our show. So
wow,
yeah,
pretty
so
cool.
Isn't that cool?
That's
it's
cool.
Awesome. Quite an accomplishment, right?
I know.
So
we've been at it for a while, for sure.
yeah,
I'm glad we stuck with it all this time.
yeah, and you know what? I like any other conference, I keep bumping into people and go, hey, yeah, you know, you're IoT Coffee Talk, right, with Rob, and you know, you guys talk a bunch of crap, and yeah, I know about your show. I was like, well, do you watch the entire episode? They go, no, but you know, I know about the show.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. You know, when I was in Vegas, I don't know, a week or 2 ago with Ryan Prosser from Very, and you know, he does his over the air podcast, and he had his iPhone up showing all the podcasts, and he was complaining that his, you know, he thought he had the best #1 podcast for IoT, and he was like, oh my God, I'm falling behind to you guys. I mean, no doubt Stacy Higginbotham's IoT podcast is still #1.
Yeah.
I've been doing that thing forever. But I think we're #2.
Are you serious?
Yeah, when you yeah, I mean, because basically Ryan has all the IoT podcasts listed in his library in the podcast app on the iPhone, and he was noticing that we've just like been moving up, and we're
really
so it looks like we're right behind Stacy. So you know,
oh, that's incredible.
That's pretty cool.
Congratulations to us. Yeah,
consistency pays off. A little intelligence, maybe. But lots of fun.
Yeah, maybe, and a whole bunch of silliness and bad karaoke.
Exactly. And I'm sure the farther
I'm going down into the exhibit hall.
I'm sure you'll just start breaking up the deeper you get into that building.
Yeah. Okay. So keep talking about how great our show is and how
absolutely
popular it is.
It looks like that's a piano over to the right of you, which doesn't make sense anyway.
It really doesn't. So.
But maybe PTC was smart and has an in-building DAS system to beam cellular deep inside the building. No, probably not.
No. Actually, you know what's really weird? I just talked to Rick, and we were talking about XR and why it hasn't really taken off in industrial. And he cited it's because of the application and the software. I mean, the software and the hardware. I said, no, a lot of it has to do with the connectivity. The connectivity is an issue because if you're doing a lot of these remote operations or, you know, remote, you know, trying to enable these remote scenarios, you have to have connectivity. And a lot of these scenarios, it assumes that you're in a remote area, right? It's a constrained area. That's like, well, how are you going to beam all this shit back to the cloud or the edge, and
Right.
and oddly, you get engineers going, you know what? That's a good point. I was like, that's the main point, So
That's the thing about the main thing.
yeah.
The main thing is the main thing. To stick with the main thing or whatever.
Yeah. You got to work on the main thing before the rest of the thing can actually work. So
Yeah.
But I mean, they make for cool demos, but the connectivity part is really tough.
Connectivity, like we just saw now, like everybody on this recording just witnessed your voice getting increasingly garbled as you went into the expo hall. And then as you came back out, the closer you get to the windows, the better.
Oh, okay. Is that a hint?
That's a hint. Like the closer you get to being out of doors, the better it gets. Isn't that a weird thing about cellular?
Why is it no one has come up with like a USB-C Yagi antenna that Leonard can point, and then just have killer reception everywhere?
Didn't the phones have an antenna you could pull out in the old days? Now you don't have it.
Yes, and the first ones were on the satellite, like on the, and you would hear that click, and you knew you were just like right on.
Isn't that funny how
I don't know.
Abandoned antennas on smartphones, cellular phones? Is it because people thought, oh, this is annoying, or it's aesthetically unpleasing?
Yeah.
Rob, the drinking with a pinky finger of today used to be the holding the antenna on your Motorola StarTAC with your index, right? They were just a couple of decades apart.
Oh my God!
Great reception on that StarTAC, though.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like, pull it out. I mean, there's a reason that stuff is there, because it works. And it's all these engineering gyrations to try to put the antenna circling around the phone. Obviously, lots of people remember Antenna Gate.
Yeah.
And Steve Jobs telling everybody you're holding it wrong.
I mean, it takes, the only thing bigger than Steve Jobs' cojones was like the stage he was on. Because that meant you are doing it wrong. Move on.
If your iPhone's not working perfectly, you're doing it wrong. It's you.
Yeah.
Not us.
Yeah.
So what's going on with you, Jan, man?
Same old.
Yeah.
We're I don't know. Did you guys start at Clubhouse originally 3 years ago, or no? That was too early, right? Yeah.
Oh, it was too early. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're from Industry 4.0 Club. We're all over in LinkedIn Live now. All of it. We've kind of.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Cool.
And we're starting to figure out how we can kind of connect to all the original contacts that we had in Clubhouse. So we're revamping our website and trying to maybe at least get people to get over there. We're doing some really cool stuff right now. So we had a call with Leonard a little while ago about ChatGPT. And
that's pretty good.
On the website, that every single image on a website is generative AI. There's not a real image to quote anywhere, which is pretty cool. It looked pretty nice. I mean, you can kind of, if you look close, you can see something there. But we're doing some interesting stuff around just trying to play with these types of technologies in a way where we're controlling it more. It's not like us just connecting to the internet and have it just give us some kind of crap back by pulling, 1% here, 2% here, whatever, and give us some kind of result. We're doing some interesting stuff right now, trying to engage people. But it's a lot of times, like even from LinkedIn, it's hard to get contacts. We can get email addresses, and Clubhouse, I think, is pretty much impossible. So we'll have to kind of reach out to people and say, hey, go here, sign up as a member, and then we can start. But we're trying to kind of consolidate all our content. You guys are doing pretty good because you've been on one platform all along, right? So
yeah. I mean, even though we don't try to necessarily promote, I don't think, right? I mean, do we really promote? I think we just like put crap out there and then see if it sticks every week, quite honestly.
But you know what? I mean, you're right. Our platform it's always been just record the thing on Zoom, upload to YouTube,
Yep.
split out the audio and upload that to all the podcast deals, and then we promote like through Twitter or LinkedIn the videos and the podcasts, to try to just spread the word. Do you feel like the LinkedIn's gotten all the bugs worked out of their whole LinkedIn Live stuff? I remember so many events that they just struggled.
So we're a little bit different because we don't go straight on LinkedIn Live. We use StreamYard to kind of stream out to both LinkedIn Live and YouTube and Twitter, by the way, too.
Okay.
So if something goes awry, we still have the recording in StreamYard that we can then post separately if we needed to.
Okay.
But it also allows us to kind of stream at the same time to 3 different platforms. And I mean, there's some kinks there too that sometimes we have to work out. I remember with Leonard, we were on a couple of times and I have to jump in and out because I was messing up my connection, and there was just there's a couple of things you need to know. And then StreamYard initially, a lot of IT department had blocked it because they didn't know what the heck it was. So when we trying to get a guest on, they would have to get their iPad out and go on their home network or whatever and connect. But now that's kind of solved. Now I think most of the time we get on there, they have no problems. But I remember at the beginning we had some issues there.
Wow. So how are things with your normal life, your day job?
It's cool. It's this IoT stuff is a cool area to work in. I think there's so many different things that you. It's not just IoT. Also, it's like digital transformation, user experience stuff, and all of it is trying to pull all that together to give your customers a better experience, right? And this is there's always something right now. I know. Rob, you promote Teal all the time, and we work with somebody else, but that whole area of global eSIM, that is a mess. I mean, I remember we were working with iSIM for years trying to get this Canada connectivity. I mean, and I have not worked with Teal, so I don't know how good they are, but the ones that can do this well is the ones that are gonna, especially for us like OEMs, right? We make a machine and we ship it to anywhere in the world. And it needs to connect, right? And it's really a hard area to work in. But that's one thing. And then there's now I forgot the name of it, but it's a Danish company talking about a software SIM.
Okay.
I never heard of that before, but that's interesting. So there's no
software. You mean iSIM?
No, it's just a
software.
Yeah, I don't know what.
How do you do that?
I'll try to find the information about it, but I just saw it just recently. I'm thinking, what do they mean? So it's like you can embed the SIM in your firmware.
Yeah.
That's really weird.
There's a lot of players in that space. A lot of them are MVNOs, as we call it.
Yeah.
And you know what? Some are doing great. Some are participating in a race to the bottom.
Yeah.
I mean, you know how it is. In the end, what are people number one thing they're shopping on? Price.
That too. Oh yeah, for sure.
But as you've experienced, sometimes that bites them in the butt. They went for price and they didn't get good reliability. For
sure. Yeah. I mean,
so you mean to tell me that the cheapest rate has tier 3 access to the local MNO? Is that what you mean, Rob?
It could be, but I can feel you're an OEM and you're putting an eSIM in a product that's supposed to work anywhere in the world. And your vendor says, no problem, it's global. And it's eSIM, so you're never roaming. You're always local. And then the shit doesn't work sometimes,
because
it's no bueno.
It was one. I mean, we're starting to expand into Latin America, right? That's a, area where you will have very good reception if you're in a main big city, right? But once you're out in a factory or in the forest somewhere, you might not have any connectivity. And you might, there might be connectivity, but that's not your SIM vendor, right? Then that's it's a crazy area, and it's like that's just something that if somebody solved that, or if an organization has said, just mere fact you can't roam, right? In Brazil, for example, you can roam for a week and then they cut it off, or maybe a month. I don't remember, but
89 days if you want to be
89 days. Okay,
then
David knows very well.
They don't understand.
I found out the hard way.
Different types of. I understand it if I'm a person with a phone and I'm using it for talk and text, whatever.
Yeah.
That you can't just go down to Brazil and roam for anything. But if IoT, it's a different, it's different data, it's different structure, and it's just something that should just work.
Yeah. The roaming agreements were made for tourists originally.
Yep.
They just were. They were made, you can go visit Brazil for a couple of weeks on vacation and then come back, and that's good. But they didn't think you were going to have an IoT device permanently camped out in Rio de Janeiro, sending telemetry on their network.
Well, another thing that often is overlooked is also the so with the specific I don't know, let's just grab narrowband IoT. You might have all these features on the local network, say power save mode, right? And if you don't have the same deployment wherever you're roaming, well, guess what's not going to work?
Right.
So whatever that calculation that you did for battery, based on this usage, battery is going to do this, and we've seen it here. It goes out the window once you're roaming in somebody else's network that hasn't deployed the same features. And and again, finding out the hard way. These are the questions to ask.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually,
does your solution have Starlink backup?
Yeah. Well, I think these are great points, and great things for a lot of practitioners to think about, the one or two who listen to the show to consider.
Yeah. Speaking of Starlink, I saw a news blurb yesterday on one of the things on my phone that said that Best Buy is going to start selling Starlink in certain states in the U.S.
Makes sense.
What?
Who goes into Best Buy, though?
I don't know. Somebody? Your mom? I don't know.
No, my mom calls me so I can do e-commerce from Best Buy and then go and set up the computers there.
You have someone who wants to buy a refrigerator or maybe a CD player?
Yeah.
Dude, Best Buy has
CD player.
No, actually, Best Buy actually has a very good value. Best Buy actually get paid by Apple and Dell to host their products in there, because a lot of times people just want to touch it one, and right now the only place you can go is Walmart to some extent, but not really. But Best Buy.
Yeah.
So if you want to check that Lenovo i7, whatever, what does it really look like and feel like? You got to go somewhere, and that's
You're right. Store within a store.
Yeah, and then you go back and buy it online anyway, right? Somewhere else, but
we call that showrooming.
Exactly.
They do it from the top floor. It's just like, where can I buy this i7? And thanks, man. I'm out.
Oh my God. Hey,
you know what?
Leonard, what is this Liveworx all about? And just for our audience, not everybody knows who PTC is and what Liveworx is.
Really?
I don't want to assume anything. This may be the first time
knows who these guys are.
Someone's watched this. Where would the word "works" with an X even come from?
This dude named Rick started a company called Thingsworx, and they got purchased by or acquired by PTC. And PTC is originally a PLM CAD, software company. I actually used to compete with these guys back when I was at IBM. So I used to work with the software group and the rational teams that were, we're competing with guys like PTC and Siemens to win work in industrial and provide PLM solutions. And these guys, I've always
thought
product
lifecycle management, folks.
Yeah, product lifecycle management. I always thought these guys had solid game. And when I think it was about 2013, Rick told me, actually he just explained it to me. By the way, folks, I just met Rick Bullota, who promises that he will be on next week. And he's one of the original hosts of IoT Coffee Talk, but he explained to me that they serendipitously bumped into Thingsworx as PTC, launched an external project to build an IoT platform. And so they bumped into Rick and said, hey, why don't we just buy these guys? And the rest is history.
Just buy them.
Yeah, just buy them. and we'll save ourselves 3 years. And now Rick is part of the PTC legacy, and I guess he likes hanging out here.
Yeah,
and he's here, and I'm gonna hang out with him tonight. We're gonna go and party, listen to some country music.
You know what?
Go to Hoedown.
Selfie, or it didn't happen, and somehow managed to like disable his mountain bike for next week, so he actually shows up.
Yeah. And you know what? Nothing says country music like Boston.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Well, is it fair to say that the acquisition of Thingsworx by PTC was a good move and it paid off for them?
I think it was.
It doesn't sound very confident.
An important part. I think it's an important part of their portfolio. I mean, that's one of the things is you look at the roadmap going forward for PTC. They're trying to create what looks like a infinity thingy majigger, where they're trying to create a digital, a platform for enabling digital threads. So they talk about digital threads a lot here, quite a lot more than digital twin, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And so I think Thingsworx has an important role. It's an important cog in that whole portfolio play. So, but we'll see. I think it's faced its challenges similar to what we've seen with other platforms, right? Let's put it this way: it's not that exponential. It's not that exponential growth engine, I think, for the company that they might have been led to, believe, not by Rick, of course, but by the hype, that it would be at the time. I mean, think about it. Everyone's talking about IoT platforms, blah blah blah, and that's about instrumenting everything.
They were there before anybody else. They were early.
They had the digital. They were doing digital twin stuff. But I think I think what these guys are really good at is integrating and replatforming a lot of the stuff that they acquire, and it's just becoming a part of like a large fabric of capabilities that they're looking at leveraging to support not only PLM but just that whole life cycle of a product all the way to end of life. So they just acquired a company called ServiceMax. So these guys provide that whole service or in-field product management and lifecycle management. So they're closing the loop on things. So
not to be confused with ServiceNow.
Right.
Yeah, totally not to be confused with ServiceNow, which I think is having their own event this week.
Everybody's having an event this week. All of our friends are in Santa Clara right now.
IoT World.
Exactly.
You know what? I hate that place. The Santa Clara Convention Center must die. Every time I go in there, it just seems gloomy and old and depressing.
Yeah.
But but if you go in there, and it's topical now, but doesn't it remind you of the Soviet Union?
Yes,
I mean, that's what it is. Just brutish concrete.
So unattractive.
It is old. It's time to Can we get into Levi Stadium next door? Like that place is from this century. No more Empire, please.
I've just reposted. I saw how you get your little memories on Facebook from 6 years ago, and all of a sudden I see this picture of me videotaping and screen, and I see the big Joshua tree, and it's all red. And so 6 years ago, we were at Levi Stadium with all my colleagues from the Hitachi Lumada team in a skybox watching U2, how they did that tree tour. Yeah. Oh, my God. And so, as soon as that came up on my phone, streets have it was just incredible. Oh, my God.
Leonard, I'm gonna put on the chat for us, but we need a follow up because I found an article from VentureBeat with the PTC acquisition, and I quote: PTC expects the acquisition will add more than 10 million of revenue over the first year. So you need to validate if
10
million first year.
Okay.
It was an article from VentureBeat regarding the PTC acquisition of Thingsworx. They were expecting.
Oh, okay.
So let's see. It either
10 million. That's fair.
Million with a M
with an M
or a B.
Listen,
No. It's definitely more than that.
You know what's fair to say?
It's worth it.
Yeah.
But,
it's great to see, but who's still standing? Because after all the giants, the hyperscale IoT guys and everything, we've seen the rise and crumbling of many of them. Yeah. And the smaller players who were real innovators and who found themselves having to okay, we'll work with Azure IoT, or okay, we'll work with IBM or whoever, or Google. And we've seen this kind of rise and fall. And then you see the players who actually built real solutions, kind of end-to-end solutions, instead of selling Lego blocks, are still around, which is good to see, So I'm glad to see, and you talk about PTC, PLM. Yeah. That's, if you talk to, Dr. Michael Greaves, his whole invention of the digital twin was directly related to PLM. Very heavily. Exactly what the point of the digital twin was that product lifecycle management, from design, simulation, testing, lifetime, runtime, and retiring the product, right?
Yeah.
I gotta jump off, but I'll leave now. You've got thinking of PLM, Rob, and in context of the companies that are still out there, the folks that actually do this and have been doing it understood early on that the whole IIoT of the shop floor was less about machines that were there and more about the systems that were gathering data from the machine. And if you could tap into that, that's one of the things that will bring PLM alive. So if I could talk to SCADA, if I could talk to MES, instead of I'm going to put this sensor on your conveyor belt and you're going to make millions right away. Not so much.
Not so much.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of bits and pieces to the puzzle. Yeah,
hey, David,
and
before
PTC
you leave,
has a lot of it. So,
how are things going at your new job at Zemelgo?
Oh yeah,
dude. Oh yeah, absolutely. Killer team, killer culture, product market fit. Hearing from customers, it's super cool. And I keep telling Rich every Sunday night, I'm coming in tomorrow. So it's week 2. It's going. That's
awesome.
And I got to go jump on a work, which is weird for me to say.
That is weird.
Tell Rich we said hi.
Yeah.
Done and done. All right. Good to see you, Jan. Bye, guys.
All right. See you.
Bye. See ya.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I tell you one thing I learned last week when we did the call from Hawaii. Yeah. And I was using.
That was a great chat, by the way. That was a great chat. I don't know why you're so self-conscious about talking about military stuff. I thought it was.
We kind of got into it. I learned a lesson.
I wish I was there.
I learned a lesson. I tried to use my AirPods connected to just a normal Windows PC, my ThinkPad, and it sounded like crap. It sounded like I was on a long-distance phone call from Azerbaijan or something. So so we're not going to try that ever again.
No.
Oh my gosh. No, that was good. And we should definitely dive more into stuff like that. I know Tom was just like, wow, we've been so focused on what we think the world of IoT is, and we've been talking about factories or certain. He's like, there's so many other areas we could branch out into. I think he was like, this is a light bulb for him, that we just went deep on military situational awareness with IoT, which when you think about it, makes perfect sense, but we just never talked about it,
Now, do you put that on Google or Amazon or Azure? the military.
Well, all of them will argue that they're secure enough to support military applications. But you know what? Actually, the more I think about it, what you're probably going to see is a lot of these things become compartmentalized and deployed in like these edge systems. There was a company that I bumped into at the NAB show that was doing something really interesting with 5G, and they called it standalone 5G network. And I initially signed up for this session thinking that they're going to talk about standalone, like standalone 5G, new radio, meaning the new core, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this was like literally standalone. It's like they basically rented spectrum from a British, so these are British guys, a British telco, and they would stand up temporarily a standalone 5G network. So they would borrow the spectrum, and then they would support these, broadcast applications, right? And, of course, broadcast requires a lot of bandwidth. It needs to be reliable. And so, when you hear a lot of talk about the use of 5G in military, I think those are the types of systems that could likely be what we see in the battlefield one of the years. Because I've always scratched my head wondering, it's like 5G out in the battlefield? How's that going to work out, right? But these standalone networks and enabling these kind of IoT-ish applications like you guys were talking about last week makes a hell of a lot of sense, and it could be really interesting to see how these things evolve in R&D.
Is that similar to the I read a while ago that Volkswagen was starting to put local 5G networks in the factories, so using that for communication? Is that the same thing?
It's
they're kicking the tires on it. It's a German equivalent of a CBRS that allows them to do that.
It's a little bit different because these guys actually called up the carrier ahead of time, asked permission to use the spectrum for actually Prince Charles' coronation, right? So they stood it up temporarily because you don't have these persistent crowds, these massive crowds all the time, right? But oftentimes you don't have sufficient bandwidth to do broadcast. And so that's why these guys stood this stuff up. And, the battlefield's the same thing, right? You might have a division moving into a particular theater, and you want to temporarily lay a highly reliable 5G network that provides a ton of bandwidth to that and light that area up, right? But you would have to have this kind of standalone mobile network to make that kind of thing happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I mean, I thought that was really novel, and it's weird. I had some other people bring this particular company up. I forgot the name of it several times. In the context of, industrial, but, I had to clarify to them, they weren't using, shared or unlicensed spectrum. They were actually, I think they were leasing spectrum.
So when we talk about the Volkswagen thing, is there a spectrum that is identified for like a local 5G?
In Germany? Yeah, I think it's like 3.4. Yeah, they have something designated. Germany is like one of those unusual countries or markets where they've carved out some unlicensed spectrum for industrial use. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. And I know that, a lot of the German operators as well as manufacturing companies are, in particular automotive, are dabbling with the stuff, right? Whether it's Mercedes or BMW or what have you. So
there you go.
It's interesting because that means that a lot of the equipment manufacturers have to rethink their communication protocols, whatever they're going to put on the equipment to communicate, or an integrator comes in and outfits everything with a I don't know, BACnet or Modbus or OPC to 5G. I don't know how efficient and cheap that's going to be.
Yeah.
You got to have the industry to rethink what they're actually doing, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think there is learning. The guys at Siemens have been doing a lot of POCs and R&D work on the front in terms of actually building and testing systems, right?
Yeah.
And let's put it this way: what they're learning is the shit is a hell of a lot tougher than anyone anticipated, and the hype is definitely totally off a base of reality. And so, it's going to be useful, but you really have to look at things at a very case by case basis. I mean, it's like pathetic how detailed the work is going to have to be, because these networks are going to have to be highly engineered, and they have to support, and then your decisions in terms of how you connect things, where you deploy, let's say, compute workloads and stuff like that. It's all going to be environment based. So you're going to have somebody who has a shit ton of experience in RF and networking and compute coming in and assessing an environment, and then determining, okay, what can we actually put in here? And if we're trying to get this like whiz bang capability, where do we deploy? Where do we deploy the workloads, and how do we distribute compute, and then how do we connect everything reliably? And just that alone, I mean, think about how is there an easy button for this stuff? And then you have all these people talking about easy button. We have to get a 5G. It's like, dude, this is like so not easy button.
Yeah. You know what? I saw some news yesterday. I don't know if it was Singapore. Some other country just basically came out and said they're going to dedicate, it wasn't CBRS spectrum. You know how in the US we've got Wi-Fi 6E, where we gave that extra bandwidth for Wi-Fi unlicensed. I think it was Singapore who's going to do the same thing. The only reason I bring that up, we've been talking about this private 5G and CBRS, but I'm bullish on Wi-Fi, to be honest with you. As always, because it's familiar, it's already there. Everyone has it at their house. People understand it. Yeah, and it's not a rip and replace project. To every company, every office, every skyscraper, every factory, Wi-Fi access points everywhere. And so at least in the US with the Wi-Fi 6E, with all that extra bandwidth up there, that's whatever 6 gigahertz spectrum area. It's going to be hard to beat, and then Wi-Fi 7 is supposed to be.
Wi-Fi 7 is pretty close, yeah.
Wi-Fi 7 is going to be like 30 gigabit. I mean, just insane. Yeah. And I really think cellular is going to struggle to match those kind of speeds.
Yeah. Once you're in a factory building, there's a lot of easier ways to get connectivity than.
Yeah. And factories are all about Ethernet already. Yeah. So the whole place is Ethernet, and then Wi-Fi drops. And when the Wi-Fi is especially if people start doing at least 10 gigabit Ethernet everywhere, and then high speed Wi-Fi, I just don't know how you're going to compete with that with cellular.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it definitely raises the bar for adoption for 5G. I mean, that's why I've been telling folks, you guys have to figure out what the critical applications are, because anything that overlaps with what Wi-Fi can do, that's low value, and there's no differentiation there. It's going to be really tough. The antenna, the components on device are going to be cheaper. They're going to be more available. Deployments are going to be simpler. I mean, you're going to have an easier button. But it's those critical applications, that's where 5G
edge devices that are, huge portion of edge devices that are computer based. They already have the chip there or whatever, right? It's just a matter of connecting the antenna.
Yeah.
Or it might have a upgrade board or something, just a simple connector. You just put a little board in and you got it, right? I think it's gonna be hard to compete with that. I mean, I can imagine going to a factory today and say, "Hey, we got to upgrade all the equipment to communicate with 5G." Like, whoa, how are you going to do that?
Well,
and how much is it going to cost?
And how much could it cost? Yeah, crazy.
Oh, come on, man! Are you kidding me? A lot of people are wondering whether or not they should even go wireless.
Oh yeah,
It's like, why am I going to unwire this when this, number one, the equipment doesn't move. It's going to just sit there.
Yep.
And what are you telling me? I have to transmit now all my data over the air, and then you want me to spend how much?
That's a good point. It's hard to beat the reliability. No. It's hard to beat the reliability of Ethernet.
Yeah. I know, but it's just a friggin' sad ass reality. It's not going to be an entirely wireless world, especially with critical stuff. So, it's like 5G is kind of sandwiched in between, all the commodity, easier button stuff that Wi-Fi does. And then that, just infinitely reliable wired stuff for critical applications. So, it has to figure out how to solve a problem in the environment, right? That neither Wi-Fi or wired can solve. And I think that range at the moment is very, very narrow. And it's also expensive. There's no easy button for that stuff. As far as I've seen, and I've done a lot of research in this area and talked to a lot of people, and spoken to some, amazing thought leaders and engineers who've been working some of these hard problems. So,
good times.
Yep.
Yeah. So
well, the thing about wired though is that if you come in with a new piece of equipment, or sensor, just getting someone to install power somewhere can be tough.
Yeah.
I know Dave talked about, battery and whatever.
Oh yeah.
A lot of times you don't have that option, right? If you have a high-powered sensor that needs battery, or that needs power, right? And run an Ethernet cable to it too. It's just it's not always easy. If you can avoid having power and you can use wireless, that's a lot easier.
Yeah.
That is a lot easier. But if you got to use Ethernet and you need power, maybe try power over Ethernet.
No, you still got Ethernet cable, right?
PoE.
So power.
Cat 6 Ethernet cables, right? Yeah, that's always an option, and depending on the length, how far away it is from the power over Ethernet switch, right?
Yeah.
But that's always a good option. I think you can extend it further. You can have these little relay whatever thing boosters or something like that along the way. When you need to get to weird places, it's crazy stuff.
I was at a conference last year where this guy, I think Israeli guy, I can't remember, but he was talking about battery-less sensors.
Yeah.
Very cool stuff.
That's
ambient light, vibration, heat, and the amount that, and of course you need some that then shuts off, go into sleep mode, wake up, sleep mode, wake up, in order to keep it. But still, that's impressive stuff.
Pretty cool. You're absolutely
well. That's a whole new feature set that they're exploring for 5G Advanced and 6G. So, Ericsson, Huawei, and I don't know if Nokia showcased something, but they actually have demoed that stuff.
Oh, wow.
So it is pretty cool. Yeah. I mean, it's not future stuff. I mean, as far as R&D, the technology existing, it exists. It's like now, how do you standardize it? How do you incorporate it into the 5G, 6G standards and then commercialize it? So
I would think that 5G would pull more power than. So I think this guy that was presenting was more like mesh network, like but not 5G or 4G.
No, it's not. I remember.
Oh, this is something different.
Energy harvesting.
Energy harvesting.
Yeah. So, it requires really low power, much lower than cellular.
Yeah.
You know what? In fact, Leonard, if I think back to CES 2020, the hidden super spreader event that you and I were at.
No, actually, I missed out on that because my son was born.
You were there, dude.
Yeah, I missed it. You were there by yourself, spreading the disease all over the world.
I remember, like how some of the people will do private events, like in a suite at one of the hotels in Vegas. Yeah, I went to a demo of exactly what Jan's talking about, that energy harvesting. It was a bunch of PhD guys who've been working on it at their university. and they had a sensor across the room, and it was sending data across, and there was nothing. Yeah. It was just magic. And so it was capturing radio waves that are just in the air to give it electricity, which was crazy. Yeah, it was crazy.
So you need 5G to have waves to latch onto, huh?
As it turns out, we are surrounded by radio waves all around us. I don't even know how we're alive.
I don't know either.
We've been surrounded by radio waves all our lives, and it wasn't about phones. It was about radio. AM, FM, TV, all that stuff is all over continuously. Yeah. In fact, when we think about trying to, back to the getting coverage in Brazil, just like when you hear about people trying to use TV spectrum and stuff like that, being able to capture all these bizarre radio waves that are out there that may be licensed for certain things. There's so much out there everywhere.
No, for sure.
It's a matter of finding a way to piggyback on top of them or something. It's like, don't mind us. We're going to just send a few bits of data. It'll be okay.
No, it doesn't work in a closed manufacturing environment because all the walls are going to stop the radio waves.
True. You're right.
Yeah. I think there's just a lot of challenges in especially industrial environments. And, the more you talk to some of these legacy or, more the more, let's call them the traditional players out there, a lot of us like to assume that these guys are backwards and they don't have an ounce of innovative will in their body or in their organizations, but that's not entirely true. One of the challenges they have is they have to deal with a whole legacy portfolio of stuff that's out in their installed base, right, out in the field. So they have to be judicious about how they not only help their existing clients evolve their capabilities. And many of those customers they just want to leave the stuff the way it is. But then they also have the challenge of, continually evolving their products. And they're bumping into a lot of these realities that I think the technology folks need to recognize. And I think that's what we're seeing with a lot of these whiz-bang hype technologies, right? A lot of the technologists, or at least the media and the analysts, are going bonkers with the narrative. And, as these bigger players that have the customers and the install base that everybody wants to sell these technologies to, they're feeding back that, hey, look, the stuff, these environments that we're dealing with are very, very complex. And your lab experiment and your, academic paper, what's suggested in your academic papers or this, hyped up article, it just doesn't play out well in real life. You know what I'm saying? And and that's one of the things that's really cool. I'm going around talking to a lot of companies, a lot of vendors up and down the stack, and you really see that disconnect playing out. You know what I'm saying? And the rationalization happening. But it's sobering. It's sobering for a lot of technology companies that are finding out, well, okay, there really isn't that big of a market for this gizmo that I've created, or this new AI chatbot thingy. People have to do their homework, and this stuff is not easy. And especially for the folks that are doing the IoT stuff, it's like what we've been saying for 3 years now. There really isn't an easy button for this stuff. And that's why these, IoT platform plays never scaled out and never played out the way that everyone was talking about, and, it's time to pay attention to the details, the nuances of where we're thinking that these technologies are going to make a difference, and I think we still need to make that correction in thinking, because there's still really big disconnects that we talk about on the show all the time. So if you don't watch this show, you should friggin' watch the show. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I even watched the show because sometimes I don't, I miss what when one of you guys say. I was like, what the friggin' hell did we say? I got to watch it again. And they ended up being very, very insightful, episodes. So yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm probably our biggest audience.
You are. You're the number one watcher of the
Not
show.
pathetic. Yeah, I'm like the number one fan.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't watch.
Pathetic.
I listen to it on podcast instead because that
You do?
a lot of time when I'm in my car to work or whatever, I got some time there to listen. So that's always a good one. Once a week, I can listen to you guys.
That's right.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And over time,
we appreciate that.
Over time, it'll be more and more important to listen to us rather than see our ugly faces. Yeah,
there you go.
It'll be better to be just a voice hiding.
Oh, we're gonna get generative AI filters on, so we always look young.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
that's good.
Well, I have to tell you, I've had a lot of generative AI conversations, and CTOs are being a lot more thoughtful than I think everyone thinks.
Oh, that's good to hear.
They are not drinking the Kool-Aid. And, like I talked to the CTO at PTC, Honeywell. Who else did I mean? Intel, maybe not so much. They're kind of drinking the Kool-Aid, but, there's a lot more, sensible thinking. I think Gen AI is going to go through the typical steps of hype cycle collapse, which is people are doing POCs. They're going to find out what it can and can't do. They're going to find out a lot of what it can't do. And there's going to be a very small number of things that we discover that Gen AI is actually good at. And the rest of it is just crap. We've seen this time and time again. Is probably the only given in the universe. It's like a law. Right. And we'll see it play out. And so, but yeah, it's not like they're ignoring it. They're, they're playing with it, but they're also finding out, don't plug this thing into that or this or that or that. And then they're finding, if it makes shit up, hey, that's a good application. So,
I've been really surprised about the business around ChatGPT.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always companies out there that will offer, pay $39.99, and here's a direction of using some kind of tool, right, or whatever.
Yeah.
But it takes some time before that tool is actually in mainstream, so that somebody's going to build a business around it. ChatGPT is like day two. There's all these companies that, hey, pay $20 or whatever, and here's a list of the right way to question.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. Everybody's trying to make money out of it right now. It's
I mean, it's just like ICOs and all the get rich quick courses you could take on crypto. It's exactly the same.
You're right.
It's exactly the same. There is no friggin' difference. I don't care what anyone says, and I've had this debate already 15 times this week, and there's no difference. It's the same.
I think most of them are just one person that went through and did 100 questions and got a result, and then they put it in a PowerPoint, and now they're selling it for $50. Here's an example of how to use it, right?
There you go.
Do something similar to this. And people are just making, I don't know if they're making a lot.
All the prompt engineering stuff. Yeah. I'll tell you right now, the discussions I've had about prompt engineering with some of these teams here as well as other companies. Prompt engineering, you can't take a course for it. You just go and you have to figure the scripting out yourself, and so a lot of these guys that are doing these courses on prompt engineering, I don't know. What do you, how can this be valuable?
It's a hype too. I think it's like you hear make six figures if you're going to be the new career is like prompt engineering. Are you going to make six figures? That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
My wife is using ChatGPT, but she's also very focused on what she's doing, right? But she's in nonprofits, and a lot of times, they get in order to get funding, they'll have to go and answer a lot of questions. Almost like a and then she just uses that to kind of save some time. Not necessarily that he's going to use it directly as it comes back, but it's just the time saver I think it's a good timeshare for the people that know how to use it.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I will tell you, the people that I talk to who are savvy on the technology don't confuse ChatGPT with GPT-4 and the learning, large learning model.
Right.
That's totally, none of these guys, they will tell you, if you say, well, have you hooked it up to ChatGPT? They'll go, no effing way. These are all like, they're either using even some private, right, localized large language model. They're not plugging anything into ChatGPT. And so when you go and you see these people building business applications on top of ChatGPT, that's super scary stuff, people, unless it's called make shit up, .ai is the name of the company. Think twice,
Sure.
Vet the company. Oh my God.
I've been saying a lot of times that, ChatGPT makes stuff up. That's what it's supposed to do.
It's what it's good at.
Take sources and puts different things together as it makes stuff up, right? And if you look at the stuff that puts together, it looks right. But if you look at the individual pieces, they might not fit together in real life, right? I mean, you can have a quote from somebody and that person never said it.
Right. Yeah. Right. It's a good liar.
You brought that up.
Yeah.
A lying liar.
Liar.ai. There you go.
There you go.
Ultimate, it's the, hey, you want to come up with a good lie?
Exactly.
Use our app.
I love it. All right, let's wrap this thing up, man.
Yeah, let's wrap this baby up. The 3rd anniversary episode of IoT Coffee Talk. Yeah, thanks for joining us, Yen. Really appreciate it.
No, for sure.
Yeah, and you do a great job of contributing. So, hey, you want to take us out, Rob? I brought us in, so you take us out, buddy.
Yeah, thanks everybody for joining us on ChatGPT Liar Central. IoT Coffee Talk. 3rd anniversary. We've been doing this a long time. You can check us out on the YouTubes, on the interwebs. You can check us out on wherever you get your podcasts. We are here every week to give you lots of irreverent banter and maybe some hidden gem of knowledge. Who knows? And some frozen screens from Leonard, when he's remote, bad signal, things like that. We do that a lot too.
We need 5G.
Yes, we can hear your voice and your frozen face. There you go. Yeah, 5G. Exactly. Let's just go back to GPRS, right? Let's scale back. Anyway, thanks for coming, everybody, and we'll see you next week. Adios.
Yeah.